Welcome back, everyone. Today I have some sad news. This will be the last day of the year that I will be making a video about and riding my Honda CB500 here. This video will actually be covered under two different parts. The first part, I'm actually going to go into the house and show you at my desk some of the details about this Paddock stand that I got for the winter storage of my motorcycle. And the second part will be out here just kind of talking about some winterization stuff that I'll be considering. So while I'm assembling this, you guys can go and listen to some of the details about it, and then you'll meet me back here once I have it assembled. So I'll catch you back here. All right, today we're going to look at some Spec Star Paddock stands. I got these recently because I'm kind of tired of propping up the bike with sticks and junk. So these are very, let's say, budget oriented, if you catch my drift. These are not going to replace your, higher quality stuff, but I really only need them for winter storage. I'm not going to be putting the bike up on these 3 times a day. I'm not a professional mechanic for bikes, so I have no need for the good stuff. That said, these things smell terrible. When I opened the box, I was wafted with fumes of cancer and other terrible diseases. This stuff smells terrible. So there's the 2 main pieces. I originally, when I was looking for these, I wanted the front stand that would have the pin that goes up into the steering head, but I couldn't find one that I liked for, and also something that would ship in a reasonable amount of time that also seemed to have good, user response. So I went with these ones. I can always upgrade the front one later. So just looking at kind of the build quality here, the welding is actually pretty good overall. I mean, there's some, you can see there are some inclusions. The hardware isn't too bad. It is only 8.8, but they did include nylocks, and it overall seems like good quality fasteners. The wheels looks to be the same material they make dumpsters out of. I don't know exactly, maybe polyurethane. Nah, it's not urethane. No, it's a really cheap plastic. It's kind of medium in terms of hardness. They do have a nice circlip on there on both sides with some washers, and they spin pretty well, and they have a reasonable enough fit on the tube that they're mounted on. So, and these aren't meant to roll like casters, and I will say they are surprisingly smooth. So overall, with these pieces, I am pretty impressed. This is the one for the front, and again, the welding is pretty good. The paint is also all right. It does have some chips on it. You can see here on one of the bars, and that's on pretty much every piece. I think that's mostly from shipping and handling. It does have rubber stoppers, rubber pads on the bottom. And then looking at the other end here, you can see a thumb screw. And overall, I can't remember how much I paid for these. It was around $100. Here's some more paint blemishes. You really can't ask for a whole lot more for that price. I mean, it would not be difficult to make these yourself. I just don't really have the time for that right now. Here are the pads for the swing arm. All right, this isn't so great here. All they have holding this on is just a spring clip, which doesn't fully take up that entire space. So what I might do is see if I can find a washer to space behind this clip. It's not a big deal, only because there isn't a whole lot of lateral force. Most of the force is going to be in this direction, and it's not going to be spinning a lot. It's just there to keep it from falling out, but peace of mind for me. This is again, sort of a hockey puck hardness of rubber, maybe a little softer than a hockey puck. But no complaints here. I don't know what this dimension is in relation to the width of the swing arm on my bike, but I will be looking at that in just a few minutes. Moving over to the front. I will say it is fairly well zinc plated. I don't know if these are hardened or not. I'm going to say no, not for this price. It'd be nice to see these be hardened though, just to minimize wear, but it is going into a soft tube, so yeah, probably not. That is some weird rubber. It's very gummy. Interesting. But it should be grippy enough for the bike. I have not tried this out on the bike yet, so hopefully the width between each of these arms is going to be correct for my bike. And there it is, up on the stands. The difficult part of this for me is that I don't actually weigh enough to get, the rear end wasn't too bad, but the front end, I had to jump on the ring there and put more than my body weight in terms of like force downward on the front stand to get the front in the air. Because I only weigh like 140 something pounds, and this bike weighs 420 pounds or something like that. So getting that front end in the air was actually pretty tricky for me. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to remove the panniers, because I don't want them to be in a shed during storage. But this is this right here is how it's going to look. So I'll measure out from the rear of the rear paddock stand to the front of the front paddock stand and see what distance that is, so that in case you're going to do something like this, you'll know what kind of distance or space requirements you're going to have. So I'll do this in feet first. I'd say it's about 8 feet 6 inches. 8 feet 7 inches on the longer side. Next is for the metric folks out there. 263 centimeters. So just a little bit over 2.6 meters is what you'll expect from here. If your space can allow for that, which, I mean, if you can fit the motorcycle in there, you can fit the paddock stands. But that's what you're looking for. And then I'd say it's a number of feet tall. So the reason why, in case you're curious why I'm even bothering with any of this, the reason why I'm getting paddock stands for winter storage is to keep the weight off the tires so that I don't get flat spots. For car storage, you do want to consider flat spotting the tires a little bit, but it's not as big of a deal because tires on cars are a lot harder. The rubber is a lot harder of a durometer compared to motorcycle tires. So even though there's less weight on a motorcycle tire, because it's so much softer, and because motorcyclists, we rely on our tires a little bit more critically than those in cars, you don't want to ever question the integrity of your tires. So this is how I'll have mine stored for the winter. The next thing, as I mentioned, I'm going to remove the panniers, and the fuel. For the last 2 fuel tanks, I have been running non-ethanol gasoline. If you live in a part of the world that doesn't have ethanol in your fuel, consider yourself lucky. It's not the end of the world to have ethanol in your fuel, but it does cause some problems with storage and longevity. And really, that for me is about as far as I go for winterization. You can use fuel stabilizer if you want. No matter what you do, make sure that your fuel tank is full to the brim when you store it, because that will limit the moisture that you'll get in the fuel tank. I've stored vehicles over winter, like my Z4. I have never driven that vehicle outside of the end of October to the beginning of April. And I've owned that car for 5 years now. So I'm not a stranger to winter storage, and this one will be no different. You can go all out and do all sorts of other clever tricks like battery tenders and things like that. I've never had an issue there. With this bike, I will probably run it at least once or twice mid-season, and I will occasionally go in with a multimeter and check the battery voltage to make sure it isn't dropping too low. And if it's dropping a little bit too low, I will put a charger on it. Otherwise, I'll just monitor it more than anything. So hopefully this can help you guys in some way with your winter storage. This isn't an extensive video by any means, and I'm really not intending it to be a how-to of winter storage. I'm just showing you kind of what I'm doing for my winter prep. So I guess in terms of motorcycling, I'll see you next season. See ya.